Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are tracing a totally mind-bending path from the chaotic, probabilistic miasma of cloud AI all the way down to flawless, deterministic physical execution. We're going to explore exactly how abstract digital intent literally snaps into undeniable physical reality. Here's a quick roadmap for the cognitive load ahead. We are moving logically from the fundamental flaw of modern computing right down to the exact mechanical solution. So we'll hit 1. The floating data crisis. 2. Burrowing into nested JSON. 3. The root to leaf architecture. 4. ERC 7827 LIFO ledgers. 5. Determinism at index 0. And finally, 6. Absolute digital truth. All right, part 1. The floating data crisis. Let's talk about the FPU gambler. To really understand why we need a brand new architecture, we have to look at the massive clash happening in modern computing right now. See, centralized cloud AI basically operates as this probabilistic miasma. It relies on what the sources call the FPU gambler. Now, it's incredibly fast, sure, but it's constantly guessing. When you feed complex data into a system like this, it triggers what's known as a wood chipper effect, permanently destroying the exact original data provenance, just chewing it up. Because of this wood chipper effect, developers traditionally relied on that old upside-down tree architecture. It's floating, it's completely top-heavy, and it relies on these bloated, chaotic command chains where every tiny action just gets routed unpredictably. But then, look at the new architecture. It is a mathematically pure, grounded root-to-leaf path. Because if you want to perfectly control a physical robot or execute a flawless real-world contract, you simply cannot be floating off in the digital ether.
And the software documentation for this new standard absolutely does not mince words. They explicitly banish that old floating upside-down tree metaphor. They straight up label it as apostasy, a literal heresy that has to be purged. It sounds super dramatic, I know, but the logic is ironclad here. If you want exact deterministic physical automation, you absolutely must be anchored. No way around it.
Moving right along to Section 2. Burrowing into nested JSON. We are navigating some serious complexity now. To actually achieve that anchor, we have to bridge OS alpha, which is our messy, nonlinear physical human world, to the strict, completely unforgiving deterministic execution of a processor. And to do this, we use what's called a burrowing architecture. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept. Think about physical, bio-inspired robots that use fluidization. They are literally spraying water jets to liquefy dense soil so they can bypass drag forces and move through incredibly tight subterranean spaces. Well, in the digital realm, burrowing architectures do the exact same thing to deeply nested databases. We use path mapping to parse and extract incredibly dense hierarchical JSON schemas. So whether it's a physical robot coordinating dual anchor kinematics to physically pull itself through sand, or an ingestion engine reconstructing deep paths in a JSON file to fuel an AI, the core principle is completely identical. We are taking abstract, super dense environments and translating them into crystal clear, structured paths. We're creating that vital semiotic bridge that allows us to bypass all the chaos and lock straight into deterministic execution. Which brings us to Section 3, the root-to-leaf architecture. Time to shift the center of gravity. Once we've actually burrowed through the data and established a connection, we invert the entire old paradigm. Look at the stark difference here. We are taking those bloated, totally unpredictable command chains of the past and replacing them with a strict, grounded focus. The root-to-leaf architecture demands sovereign stewardship. It's securely anchored at the root while pushing concrete, deterministic execution way out to the edge, the leaf. So the crucial point is how this actually affects you, the user. This architecture relies on leaf node logistics. Instead of being a caged user stuck in some massive centralized corporate server farm, you become a sovereign pilot. The sources compare this to an eddy in fluid dynamics. Think of a localized swirl in a rushing river, where the water suddenly slows down and life can actually flourish. Well, in this new topology, your local device is that eddy. Your data is anchored safely in the global internet root, but the actual physical execution happens locally on your own hardware, right at the leaf. All right, taking a breath as we hit Section 4, ERC 7827 LIFO Ledgers. Enter the mechanical hero of our explainer. Let's get right down to the metal and meet the protocol that makes all of this a reality, ERC 7827. This is a massive technological breakthrough, and it's built on pure pragmatism. It essentially takes standard, lightweight JSON, the basic text we already use every single day to zip data across the web, and it turns it into a rigorous mathematical smart contract layer. It introduces value version control, which guarantees bit-perfect tracking of state transitions, all while keeping everything entirely human-readable. And honestly, the best part? It is 100% backwards compatible with existing ERC 721 and 1155 tokens. So developers don't even have to learn a new language to use it. Okay, but the absolute engine powering this entire protocol is the LIFO JSON state tree. LIFO, last in, first out. This architecture strictly pivots away from the chaotic, first in, first out, event-driven structures we are used to seeing. Because the very last item to go in is always the first item to come out, you unlock incredibly efficient single-entry bookkeeping. It is a total game changer. And that leads us to the climax in Section 5, Determinism at Index 0. We are locking down the math. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core problem it highlights. That litho efficiency leads us straight to locking down the exact mathematical foundation needed to flawlessly manipulate the real world. Think about it. Historically, proving a digital state meant agonizingly scanning through thousands and thousands of past transactions just to calculate the current reality. It's bloated, it's slow. So how do we bypass that entirely?
We do it with the bouncer. I absolutely love this analogy. Imagine a highly efficient bouncer at an incredibly busy club. They do not care about the 100 people standing way back in the line. They only need to look at the ID of the person standing directly in front of them right at that exact moment. By using a LIFO ledger, the system only ever needs to query index 0, literally the very top of the stack, to establish immediate, flawless mathematical proof of the entire system state. At the very core of this LIFO ledger is a strict logical bouncer called the syn kernel function. That stands for thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Let's walk through it. Step 1. The bouncer checks index 0 to see if the database space is currently empty. Step 2. If it is empty, it smoothly synthesizes the new data directly into that slot. Easy. But step 3 is the kicker. If data already exists in that spot, the bouncer violently rejects the conflicting input. Absolutely no entry. This uncompromising deterministic elegance completely prevents accidental overwrites and ensures flawless single-entry bookkeeping. Every single time.
And finally, Section 6, Absolute Digital Truth. We are entirely eliminating ambiguity. Let's move to and see how this builds our final reality. We've officially crossed the bridge. We've replaced the probabilistic guessing of the cloud with a mathematically pure foundation. We now have total determinism locked down. There are no in-betweens here, no guesswork. The state is either mathematically true or it isn't, period. By querying index 0, we achieve this bit-perfect tracking that completely bypasses traditional event-driven chaos. And this exact semiotic bridge from abstract human intent to concrete physical execution is what allows us to safely automate real-world hardware. Like, say, the localized microhost inside a CheerBot robotic shell. We can do it without any fear of the system suddenly hallucinating or breaking down. So we've burrowed through the noise, we've inverted the data tree, and we've locked down the exact state of reality at index 0 using LIFO ledgers. We don't just approximate reality anymore, we mathematically possess its exact, indisputable state. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Now that we finally possess absolute mathematical truth, what will you program it to do? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the structures around you, and I will catch you next time.